Welcome to another edition of The Checklist, our live Tuesday tip session where we talk to event experts about the state of event culture and tips to keep you ahead of the game. I'm super excited to be joined by Miss Enovia Bedford today because she's a fellow female event tech founder and can definitely relate to all the tools and everything needed to just really make sure your event is kosher. So, Enovia, welcome. Please introduce
Thank
yourself.
you. So my name is Enovia Bedford. I reside in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm originally from New York. My background is in marketing. I honed in on sponsorships. Actually, in my teens, it's a real random kind of story. My mom's an attorney in New York, and she had some really great clients. Like she did a lot of entertainment, a lot of WNBA players, and along the way, she picked up a really good friend and a client that had a production company. And when I was 16, she's like, go work for my friend. You know, parents are like, you need a job for this time. You need to do something. Even though I always had jobs, she was like, no, you need to go work, and do this. And I absolutely loved it. So we produced a lot of films, a lot of movies, a lot of documentaries, and a lot of events. And I was always responsible for gift bags, making sure that, there was food, there was drinks that we didn't have to pay for. And then 10 years later, in my mid-20s, I would still moonlight for the production company. I also, during the day, was a jewelry designer. So that's kind of random background. Yeah. So that I ended up, after I graduated from college, I was like, I want to be a chef. I want to do this. I want to do that. There was a company by my house that was a jewelry company that sold to Forever 21 and Walmart and JCPenney and all those stores. I interviewed to be a receptionist, and I called every day because it was down the block from my house. It was like a 10-minute bike ride. Right. I'm like, y'all need to give me this job. So they were like, well, that job is has been taken, but we have a position in design that's open if you want it. And I was like, I don't know how to design anything. What do I have to do? And they're like, oh, scan and send samples to buyers. And I was like, cool. So I was kind of doing the both at the same time. The jewelry portion ended up taking off. I asked my boss, because things were coming in from China, everything would break, real janky kind of stuff. Y'all know what costume jewelry is. Your fish hook is going to come off, all that stuff. So I went to him one day and I said, Steven, if you teach me how to fix things, I won't have to interrupt your day. I feel like I come to you 20 times a day. Can you put this hook on? Can you do this? Right. If you just sit down with me and show me how to fix it, then I can just fix it myself and you can be more productive. And he was like, nobody has ever asked to learn more and make my job easier. Let's do it. So he sat me down with the head designer, and it was a crash, 3-day course where they taught me all about the findings, all about the tools, and I learned how to fix things. So after about a week of fixing things, I was like, well, if I could fix it, I could make it. And and I made my first pair of earrings. I'll never forget what they looked like. It was triangle bars with a big teardrop on each side. They're about 2 inches. It was chain, big teardrop dangle. It was burnished gold. So that kind of almost dirty kind of finished gold. Mm-hmm. And I walked by the CEO and he said, who made those? And I said, me. He said, take it off, make a copy. I took one off, made a copy, gave him the copy. An hour later, he's like, I sold 50,000 units. So wow. That's how, so it was a unanimous decision that I went to FIT for jewelry design, and I did. And then I designed jewelry for almost 10 years, mass market. So I designed for over 200 stores. Yeah, I know. It's random when I think about it. And
it's a very robust background here.
So it was your Forever, your JCPenney, your Walmart, your Kohl's, your 579 when it existed, Torrid, Aeropostale. So all of those stores I designed something for. And in the meantime, along the way, I was like, this is fun, but I really liked the marketing aspect of it. So I liked to be able to go through bestseller recaps and say, ooh, if she bought that earring in turquoise for the spring, if I wrap that baby in a gemstone color that's translucent for Christmas, she gonna buy that too. If I make that hoop a set of stackable bangles, she gonna buy that too. If I add some rings, she gonna buy that too. So that's kind of how I design. So I would always be the highest performing designer when it came to sales because I use marketing skills that I didn't know I had. So kind of honing in those skills I learned along the way and working with those top brands and seeing how they work and seeing how they function made me such a good marketer. Like I think about those skills like, tag, like I owe a lot of what I'm able to do now to just my jewelry background and the production side of it. Because now, I know how to talk to these brands because I meet with different people in the departments and I have to meet with marketing. Yeah. And now I know how their supply chain works. And, now I know how their buying team is. So kind of being able to get that kind of level of a look into a company has been really helpful. And then for my 25th birthday, which is more than 10 years ago,
Don't worry, no one knows. You don't look it. Go ahead.
My business partner in my other company, Black Tech Charlotte, Sherelle, says to me, I've never met like a regular person who had sponsors for their birthday party. Like Bacardi gave you alcohol for your, like, it was in like the back of a cafe, like, some cheap spot I found on Craigslist. And I had all these like gifts. She's like, how did you? So when she said that to me, I was like, people don't know how to do this. And I started asking people. And every time, my mom had an event or my friends had an event, we would have all these great sponsors. Folks kept asking. I was like, well, let me go ahead and make this another company. At that time, I was Walmart was one of the biggest clients I had in my jewelry days. And when I left that company for like 3 years, I just consulted companies on how to do business with Walmart. Mm-hmm. So I got like hosiery companies into Walmart, watch companies, other jewelry companies that snatched all the business from the company that, but so kind of like with that and the sponsorship, I was like, let me see, which one is really going to be where my love is. And it ended up being sponsorship. So, I told my friends, this is what I'm doing. I create people sponsorship decks and I help them procure sponsorships. And one of my really good friends, who's a stylist, she's like, well, I'm working on some stuff for Fashion Week. Like, I'll pass along your information. And I'm like, great. So she's like, yeah, one of my clients is interested. I'm like, dope. At the time, I didn't know it was going to be Russell Simmons. I thought it was going to be like, her homeboy that was like having a fashion show, So I was able to work with that team quite a bit on like Art for Life in the Hamptons, on their fashion show. It was the first fashion show to shop a live stream. So we worked with that on Macy's, and I brought in a tech sponsor that handled that. So that kind of like bloomed. Then I started working on projects for more athletes, some more entertainers and more celebrities. But I also always really enjoyed working on projects for us regular schmegula folks. Like, like the 20-person yoga trip, or like, I'm having a brunch, or I'm having a dinner, or this is my launch party for my fashion line. So I've had kind of the best of both worlds. I moved to Charlotte 5 years ago. Before that, I was marketing manager for a really popular beverage company. When I got here, I became marketing director of a restaurant group. So I think that working on that end of it is really important, because that really taught me what to look for, right? When I was on the other end where I'm just pitching, I'm like, okay, this is what I think you want. But being on the inside is like, this is how marketers look at decks. Right. This is how we scan through it. This is what we see. So that enabled me to create kind of how I'm able to say, okay, yeah, this brand is never going to go for that. Like, did you look at this? Did you look at that? Did you look at this? I feel like I've been talking forever. But it's my background and you asked.
It is okay. We needed to know, okay? Because now that brings us to, you have all this experience to talk about our topic of the day.
Right. Which right. I didn't start yesterday.
Exactly. So I think people should definitely listen to you because you know what you're talking about. So today's topic is exactly what you were discussing: how to attract money for your event, and specifically, like, what information do you present? You have so much experience in different fields and industries. And I mean, you just spoke on it. You know what a marketer looks for. You know what these companies look for. Like, there could be one small thing that ticks them off and they say, no, that doesn't fit with us. So like, what from the stuff that you've learned over the years, what would you say are the most important things to just include, just to even get the foot in the door?
Yeah, I think that one of the important things is not to lead with the deck, and also not to lead with I'm having an event, this is what I want. Anytime that's the lead, it never goes well. Like, the lead needs to be kind of, like, it needs to be
like crushed everybody's dreams in the past.
I'm sorry, y'all. But I'm just going from my experience. Somebody else will have different experience. But if that, like, literally, if somebody knocks on your door and they're like, knock, 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 and you open it, you're like, hey, who are you? And you're like, just showing up. You got $20? You're going to be like, no, I don't even know you. Like people are not going to give money to people they don't know.
Which is true.
So, so building that rapport is like number one. So don't necessarily lead with the deck, like lead with the conversation. I always look everybody up, like, oh, I saw on LinkedIn that you commented on this article. I feel the same way. Like, what else are you working on? Can we discuss? Like, find out about these people, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with people at these companies and not the company. Like, you're not sending, the little the red C on Coca-Cola email. You're sending Brenda in the marketing department an email who has kids, who does yoga on weekends, who's trying to start her own business. Like, you're dealing with
a billion of these every day from people.
a billion of these every day from people who are like, hey, Brenda, my event is the best event ever. Right. And they're asking her for stuff. And she's like, you don't know nothing about me. You don't know nothing that I'm doing. You don't know what any of our goals are. So always start with more of a conversation to figure out what they want. So my first initial conversation is always, hey, what is your plan? I look them up on LinkedIn. It might be an article, it might be a tweet that they wrote, just so you can build some kind of familiarity with them. As I've taken the time to look to see who you are before I try and talk to you,
Right.
So, or if you see that they're speaking someplace, there is nothing like an in-person introduction. Like, if people like you, they will sponsor your thing. And that is why I am able to get different levels from just because people like me. It's not because I'm the smartest person in the room. It's because people like me, So figure out who they are, what they're working on, and ask. Like, the easiest way to know is ask. I wanted to know what your goals for the rest of 2020 are. What are your goals for 2021? I'm working on a couple of things and wanted to see if they fit into what you're doing. And that's how, because then they're like, okay, well, I have goals. If I got 10 goals and you can help me with 2 and I don't have to do the work.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Yeah. And that's really what it's about, making other people's jobs easier. Now, if you're like, I'm having this concert and I always use Coca-Cola because everybody knows Coca-Cola. And everybody's like, they have so much money, they should sponsor my stuff. And you're like, Coca-Cola, I'm having this 10,000 person event and I need $2 million to sponsor it. It's going to be amazing. And then Coca-Cola is like, well, how many times have you done it? And you're like, it's my first. Nobody's giving you money. So also learning the pathway of how to get to the check, right? Seeing what they're sponsoring. Because if Coca-Cola is just sponsoring, I think they sponsor the soccer league, right? So if they're sponsoring the soccer league and that's a $10 million deal, for the soccer league, I'm sure it's a lot more than that. Just example. But you're not going to get $2 million for your 10,000 person conference. So try to put things into context like that. And if it's the first time. So first have a conversation, see what they need, and see if you can fulfill that need. As event organizers, you're acting as a marketing company, right? Your attendees are who you're marketing to. So you have to go into it as more of I'm a marketer and less of I'm planning an event. Like, you got to kind of step away back from the logistics and planning side and get into that. All right. Into that business mode of I'm a marketing company. What are the things that I need to do? So, I need to build this relationship and then check the temperature. Like, hey, if I ask you, like, have real conversation with people. If I ask you for $5,000 for this event, is that something that you can pull out of your budget? They might be like, no, we can't do 5. We can do 3. All right, I'm going to take it.
Still right. I feel you.
I'm taking it. They might be like, well, our budget is exhausted. We can do product. If somebody offers you to start with product, I always would be like, okay, for the first time, I'll start with product and build my way up. Because you still do have to, especially if it's a first event or early event, you still have to prove. Because folks can have 47,000 followers and, 52 likes. Because they want to check engagement. They want to check that things are actually going to sell and that you can do what you say you're going to do. So if you don't want to take this product, because there are people that come to me that's like, I only want money. And I'm like, that's absolutely fine. You can only want money. It's going to be a lot tougher road dealing with new brands that you've never worked with before. And you only want money. So be clear on what your expectations are, what your needs are. Have your budget together before you ask for money.
Of course. Always the first thing we always suggest. That's like the first step. Like, you need a budget before you even do anything else.
and not a budget on a piece of paper saying that this event is going to cost me $32,000, but you don't have $32,000.
Like a legit broken down. I understand.
Like, you have to actually have that money someplace in an account before you start this process, because the worst thing that can happen is that you have a $30,000 budget you get sponsors in at 15,000 and you can't make it that other 15 and have to cancel that event. Mm-hmm. Now, the people that said they were going to give you that 15, they're not going to give you any money ever again. Mm-hmm. Probably. Most likely. They're not going to give you any money. So have your budget together first. Do your research on the person. Do your research on the company. And then create your deck based on that. Everyone outside of that should already have a company deck. You know, this is my company. This is what we offer. Here are our case studies. Case studies are so important. That's how we get a lot of our corporate clients. We pump out a case study for whatever. We're like, oh, we did this project for Walmart. Let's get this case study going. Because that, you know, proves your track record. If you have references, make sure you keep a really good relationship with them. Keep them on tap just in case you got to, you know, send them somebody's way. Because honestly, you Black women, I'm a Black woman, people listening are most likely going to be Black women. It's a different game for us. Right?
It is.
It's a different game. So we have to play by those different game rules because I know people that have, you know, I know white boys right now that get a cool 500,000.
Easy. I know Black males right now that easily walk away with a 500,000.
But for like in 6-year contracts.
Yeah. No, I know.
Like I have to push for 3-year contracts. Like my goal is always 3 years. If I lock something in for 3 years, I'm like, yes. Like 5 years, I'm like, woo. But $500 million a year from multiple partners, and their conference is kind of similar to a lot of the Black female conferences that I know. So it's like our playing field is definitely different. You know, we have to lead with data and facts. Don't let your deck be too long. Anything over 10 pages, I'm cringing. I'm like, I need to see this in 10 tops, unless it's something, if it's like an investor deck, you know, go on, do your thing, girl. But like for sponsorship, I'm looking at your deck in under 2 minutes. Like I'm scanning, I'm like, all right.
But even in like the 10 pages, like what would you say are the most important to break down? Because you can just spit it off the top of your head. Like, is it audience? Is it, you know, a lot of people always drag out maybe the audience to 3 pages or, you know, just condensing everything to your top key facts.
Yep. So I'm scanning. I'm looking for your date, your location. Because if you're in like Kalamazoo and you've never seen our brand presence in Kalamazoo, it might be done, but you have to come in an approach. You need to be like, hey, I've noticed you don't do anything in Kalamazoo. According to my research from the people that attend, we would love to see you. And, you know, so you got to be on it. So location, date, time, knock that out the first page. Second page, people love that to be like the about me for like, you know, like 2,000 words. I want to see about your event. I want to see your recaps, right? So that page, it could be like a small, this is an overview, and then this is a recap of what we've done. If it's a new event, you need to hit me with social. You need to hit me with something that you've done in that. So that's how we feel who you are. Like we could read all these great words that you put on this piece of paper and be like, oh, okay. But like, we need to see who you are. Like, this is what my social is. If you haven't had an event, if you've had an event, I need to see a recap video. I need to see some pictures. I need to see some brands you've worked with. Like, you got to catch me from the start. Then we need to go into your demographics. The who, the what, the when, the why. I don't know if you knew that I was this silly. But so on that page, I need to see like a deeper layer of your demographics. Like, you know, mostly women, great. You know, ethnicity, fine. Do you know what their spending habits are? Like, that's where we get into education. That's where we get into, you can go into your Facebook and dig a little deeper through your analytics. Instagram kind of is on a first layer too.
Yeah.
And you can go into infinity groups on on Facebook, and see a higher level of like, you know, they look at ads about shoes, you know, 70% of the time. So kind of getting to those demographics is where the money is. Cause that's always like, all right, if I'm Aldo and I know that you have 200 women that spend 70% of their time online looking at shoes, I might throw you some cash because that's valuable to me.
Right.
So for each brand, it will probably differ.
All right. That's a good point. Real quick. So you're also saying that each deck should differ per brand? Like, is it possible to have a general one, or you're really just going to be doing work for each deck, you know, each brand that you reach out to?
So you can have a general one with your general demographics. So this portion of it, you can even pop that into the email, right? Because like I like to have kind of like a standard deck, and then the packages page can be different for each brand because their needs might be different. So for Aldo, they might do a live design shoe activation where, like, you know, it'll be computerized and you can put the pieces together on it and build your own Aldo shoe, and it might give you a printout. Mm-hmm. As opposed to like, you might be mixing a cocktail, for Jim Beam or something like that.
Right.
So that page of the offerings could be a little bit more customized. The demographics you can kind of do overall. So you might say shopping habits, and then in your email say, they have, a high rate of shopping habits, and particularly in shoes, they look at, shoes online 70%. Mm-hmm. So there's other ways to incorporate that information into the page that's not necessarily the deck. So they can do one deck.
Right. Okay.
I'll keep it light on folks. Do your first.
Do one. Okay.
Do one. And then, as you get a feel for it and you're changing that package page, you might be like, all right, let me go into this other page and change some stuff, which I often do. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, the demographics are honestly the most important thing. Because that's where, that's where the money is. Or if you can see that 20% have been looking at new cars, hit up your local Mazda dealership, hit up your local Toyota and say, hey, I have, when we're let out the house again, I have an event where I'd love you. I've done this recently for a client. I would love for you to come and set up a test drive. Like it had a big circular driveway. Mm-hmm. Like, you can set up booths, you can take information, and you can offer a test drive before everybody goes inside and starts drinking. They can check out the 2020 models. And it was kind of like, they were like, nobody's asked us to do this before.
Yeah, that's a cute. I like that idea.
Yeah, because it could be your local dealership, so you don't always think about like national kind of brand level. Right. So then after we've gone through your demographics, let's get to your social media, go through that, see your engagement, screenshots of people saying, I love this. One of my favorite stories is for a travel client that I have. Mm-hmm. So that I actually met at the Art for Life Russell Simmons event. And she asked me what I did, and she's like, I'm looking for sponsors. I'm like, everybody's always looking for sponsors. I said, who's your ideal company to work with? And she said, Airbnb. And I was like, I haven't worked with Airbnb. Okay, let's give this a try. So I didn't cold reach though. So what I did was I asked one of my friends who's a super host. And I said, hey, I know you're a super host, which means that you have to have connections to the community manager person within. Right. And she's like, yeah, I do. I was like, would you mind doing an introduction for me? And that's the other thing. If one of your girlfriends, if you see they know somebody on LinkedIn that you think that they know, ask them for an introduction. That'll let you know if they trust you too. Because everybody don't. Because there are some people that ask me to do introductions.
That is
like,
true.
No, sir.
They will not do it. That's true.
No, sir. I'm not. You're not gonna put me out there like that. But me and her had done business together before, and she absolutely 100% trusted me. She said, no problem. Set up the email, wrote the girl, and I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. I know you're probably super busy. I know that you guys are moving into your New York office. I'd love to come take a little tour, have a chat. Hit me right back. Come on, let's do it. And I was like, okay. Met up with her. She introduced me to the entire team there. And I was like, bet. Right. And so then introduced me to the San Fran office. I've been working with Airbnb for various clients because of that introduction for the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. So introduced me. That first deal was for $500 and luggage tax. So I hit her and I was like, hey, so I got Airbnb. She's like, what? I was like, I did it. We got Airbnb. They want to do $500 and luggage tags. Like, let me know. She's like, hell yeah, let's do it. Right. So we did it. And we were able to turn that into a 3-year nice deal.
That's amazing.
It became a very nice deal. I knew that I was getting my check twice a year. Times a year from that deal from Airbnb. So definitely if you know somebody, ask. But so another company that we worked with on that event was Bark Thins. Mm-hmm. So everybody at this event loved the Bark Thins. And there are pictures on social of like people popping open these bags, like chomping down. And then in the group, there's this whole like 400 200 comment thread about these Bark Thins. So when I saw that, what I did was I took a picture of it and I sent it to my contact. And I was like, hey, just so you know, everybody loves these. That does a couple of things. That solidifies my relationship with them because even after the fact, and this was like a month later, people were posting, they're on sale at the grocery store by my house. Check your local, food line or whatever it is. They're on Amazon because people were it's when they first came out. People like instantly got addicted to these things. So I'm like, hey, here's feedback I've received from my group, right? From my client's group. So he's like, oh my God, that's so good. Because now he can take that to his boss and say, look what I did. Remember that event that we sponsored, 6 months ago or whatever? This is still what's happening in that event. Now that is another thing. How do we continue to engage them? Because we know these people are buying. So let's keep them on the hook. And they were one of the first companies that reached out to me and they were like, hey, we know that you know how to do this. What else are you working on?
All right.
And I was like, yes, because that's what you want, right? When brands have money in their budget and you know that they have thousands of proposals, but they hit you up and they're like, hey, what do you have going on? Because we know you can trust it.
Exactly.
So put that in the deck. This is, we worked with such and such sponsor before, and this is what everybody thought about it.
Right.
Send out that survey. Ask people, how did you like the gift bags?
Mm-hmm. So quick question. You talked about social media and how that helped you, but for first-time organizations, for people that have less than 1,000, less than 500, would you still say they should include that? Or should they skip over it and just maybe highlight, like you said, a highly liked post or something or things like that?
Now is the time when you start doing your own kind of brand work, right? So you pick the brands that are in your house that you love anyway, and you post about those. Okay. So you're like, I'm on this quarantine, child, and I'm in the house eating all of this herb and garlic. What is it called? Laughing cow cheese, right? So you do your own brand post, and you get some engagement on that. Like, ooh, that snack looks good, and then you go and and you drum up some comments. Because even if you get 10 comments of people that are like, oh, that sounds good, those are people that may have not been exposed to the brand before. So you kind of already show that you're willing to do that kind of work. It's kind of like before you get to your job, you've done projects on your own, right? Mm-hmm. So you've built some things, you've built some products before you land that tech job. So you can show, it's kind of like your portfolio. Like, I haven't worked officially with brands yet, but this is what I've done. Right. And as far as the numbers, nano influencers are becoming bigger. I have one who is in male grooming, and I think at the time, he may have had 2,000 followers, like maybe. But, I got him a sponsorship from Enovia and Hennessy, and we worked with some international brands, and Clarisonic was one of the biggest brands that we worked with that sent 100 of their limited edition $300 machines. So don't let the amount of followers that you have stop you if you're doing continue to do the work. So now that we've gotten through the page of this is my social, I wouldn't put that I have 500 followers. This is how you finesse that, right? So when you're on your social page, instead of saying I got 500 followers, just highlight the really great comments. You can pick 5 really great comments and put that on there. And if they come back and say, well, how many, you can let them ask,
right.
Our engagement rate is, because if you got 10 followers and 8 engaged, you at 80%, boo.
I know. Right? The math.
You're at 80, so, and kind of let them, comb through it. Then after that page, that's when you can go more into the event details. Because now you're like, okay, I see who you are. I see some of your work. Tell me more about what this event that you kind of preface in the beginning is about. And that's where you start to showcase what activations they can do within. So that's when you're it's a conference, and there's going to be opportunity for vendor spaces. There's going to be opportunity for outdoor activations. There's going to be opportunity for VIP lounge and all of that stuff. And that kind of leads into here's what we want from you. I do add prices after a conversation. So I don't just add prices to a deck and be like, my budget is $30,000, so I'm gonna charge for that. I wait because you don't want to leave money on the table, and that's when you kind of have that budgeting conversation. Okay, because that'll let you know if you want to do it, either way. Because if you want $50,000, if you want $100,000, and they're gonna come with 500 or 1,000, that might not be the opportunity for you. You might be like, all right, let me, hold back on this. But if you want 50,000 and they're like, well, we have 75 to do this, then you just came up on another 25. So, you kind of want to kind of want to finesse it. And then after that page, it can be press is what I usually throw in there.
Mm-hmm.
If you've had press coverage, if you've done any webinars, any podcasts, any speaking engagements, like if you've had any really good coverage, and then hit them with the thank you page. That's it. That was like a good 6 or 7 pages right there. We didn't even get to 10.
Now, would you blend stuff? Like, a lot of people, maybe that again, going back to first time organizers, first time doing this event, blase, but like you said, they have other experience from other jobs or working with another company where they did events. Would you suggest that they blend the two in regards to press for an event that they did for somebody else that they can include and just, show that just so there's some type of traction or some type of proof, social proof?
Absolutely. If you've had press from previous events, definitely include that. And, just say this is an event that we either helped organize or worked on or handled the partnership aspect for. But yeah, definitely include that. Oh, and I'm sorry. Before that is the team page. The team page in the bios. Yeah. So before the thank you is usually when it's like the founder bio, and who else is on the team. And some of that information could be included in there as well.
Nice. So being in the midst of COVID-19 and coronavirus, does all of this still apply to a virtual event? And have you seen the same type of success rate with getting sponsors and money for these digital events that are popping up?
Yep. So a lot of the digital events that we've handling, we've been able to transition our already set in sponsors into a smooth transition. Because at this rate, nobody's giving any money back. That's not a thing that's going to happen.
She's like, that's not what you're going to do.
No.
Figure something out.
Yeah, we're not giving any money back. So this is going to work out, right? So we're going to give you some options and you're going to pick from those. And then if we postpone it, we're gonna just keep this money still, and then the stuff that we told you that you're gonna get that at the new date.
When the new date, whenever the date is,
that's when you're gonna get everything we promised you. It's still gonna come. So yeah, you can definitely transition if you currently have sponsors. So I think that what'll be helpful is when we get a real timeline of when we're gonna come out of this thing, right?
Yeah,
I'm assuming that. I'm not telling anyone to have events until September.
Yeah.
I feel like by September, we'll be clear. I don't want to see anyone trying to do anything in the summertime.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, and also this gets into what the sponsorship timeline is and should be, right? So if you're planning a virtual event now and you're asking for sponsorships, you are too late. You're too late. So the sponsorship cycle can go up to 18 months, right? Mm-hmm. So deals that we're doing now were started a year ago. That's when the conversation started. Yes, I've done deals in 3 weeks. I've done deals in 48 hours because those relationships are already set in place.
Right.
So now if you're, trying to plan stuff, it's time to connect with these brands and have those conversations and see what their contingency plans are and what their marketing. Because some brands are we're cutting back now because we have to do a huge marketing push when we get out of this. If you've noticed, commercials are still going, ads are still going. Now we're seeing commercials and ads from Burger King talking about, we care about you. Go through our drive-thru. The quickness of how they turn these ads, okay? They're flipping these new ads out. And then you'll bet your bottom dollar that when this is all over, they're going to be like, we're back open. Come visit us in our dining room. Come get this free apple pie if you stay inside and eat. Come get this 20% off coupon. So brands are still going to expect you to spend money after this is all, well and done, but you still need to connect now. So I recommend requesting sponsorship at minimum 3 months before your event, preferably 6 months. Yeah. Sometimes 12 months is too long. We haven't, thought about their budget, but they're lying. They have thought about their budget, but they're not going to include you in it because they don't know.
That's a straight
because I used to tell people that. I was like that. Oh, no, I haven't thought about my budget. No, actually, it's January and I know who all of my money is going to in September and I don't know you, so you're not included. That's what that means.
Oh, my.
So, and because you have to think about it, right? In marketing land, you have your standard things that you sponsor, right? Yeah. So if my marketing budget is $5 million, already 3 million of that is already earmarked to stuff that we sponsor every year. Because we might be in 5-year contracts. We might be in 7-year contracts with this. We might be in a 10-year contract with the sports team. Right. That's like, so we know every year, all right, our marketing budget this year is $5 million. 3 is already gone. This other 2, there are programs that we already want to run. So now that 2 comes down to like $1 million. Now we got to put like 500,000 on reserve for the just in case we like you bid. And now we have this other 500,000 of maybe free open money, but you got to prove to me why.
Exactly.
Why I should take this money, and use that to buy equipment for it was a restaurant group. So I put social media specialists in every location. So it's like, I might want to use this 500,000 to give them incentives to give out to people in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Or if I'm working for something that's doing like grocery store pop-ups, I might want to use this to give out gift cards so people can get free product. So there's a lot of other options before your event comes that I got to pay for. So if I tell you, oh, we're not thinking about sponsorship yet, they are lying. Their budget is already mentally planned out for the end of the year. Yeah. So that's why it's important to have these conversations, and get built in. And then also, a real big secret is that I don't get all of my money from the marketing department. So there are so many departments that you can ask for sponsorship from that people don't think about, right? You can ask for sponsorship from the legal department. You can ask for sponsorship from HR. You can ask for sponsorship for diversity and inclusion. You can ask for sponsorship from the cafeteria. Cafeterias have budgets, right? So cafeteria, y'all want to host something?
This is
right. Like, if you're on the
outside the box, right? That makes sense though.
Yeah. Like if you're on the product side and you have a cafeteria at like a tech company, for instance, one of my good friends through marketing land, I first worked with her when she was at Pretzel Crisp. And then, so I worked with Pretzel Crisp a bunch. And then she went to Perfect Bar. And then she went to Beyond Meat. So I work with Beyond Meat often now as well. And they wanted to get into some tech companies. And I know somebody at Spotify. And I'm like, hey, can you connect me with the cafeteria lady? And they were like, sure, why? And I'm like, hey, cafeteria lady, let me talk to you about something. So tech companies, they pay for everybody's food all day long. Yeah. So what a perfect way to introduce a new product in an activation type way to a large demographic of people at once, right? So I'm like, so Beyond Meat wants to do this thing. How much money you got? She was like, we got this much money. You know what I'm saying? So it's being creative. It's thinking of, do I really need to go to marketing for this? Right. Because everyone is going to marketing for this.
Which is true. And that's something, like you said, that's a secret. People don't like, that's the first thing people tell you, go to marketing, find the key person in marketing, and you're probably overwhelming that person. But if you can remember that there's a accounting department or somewhere else, like that's smart.
Recruiting, they're always looking to hire people. So if you have an event with a large population of people who aren't not necessarily entrepreneurs, but are going to be looking for jobs, and we get money from recruiting departments. Yeah. Don't listen. Don't let recruiting departments fool you. If there's some kind of employment slant on your event, you need to hit up those recruiting departments. So really thinking about, okay, what is going to fit what I'm doing the best?
Yeah.
Going after that department. And then also figuring out what agencies these companies work with, right? Because if you work with one of their agencies, and if likes you, then they'll be able to place you with other companies that they work with. So not necessarily thinking, right, I got to hit the marketing department at Coca-Cola, but thinking what agencies work with Coca-Cola that are, because they hire a multicultural agency to do certain things. They hire certain agencies for certain things. So like if I get into this agency, I can probably get not just Coke, but I can probably get vitamin water as well, and Tropicana and some of those other, brands that they work with. So really figuring out what departments, where you need to go, who you need to talk to. So that's one of my biggest ways of
maneuvering through this company. It's smart though. It's smart. But do you see any hesitation with everything going on? Like, would you still say sponsorship is still booming or quote unquote an all-time high? Like there's still, some hope for people that are planning events or are trying to attract money for their event?
I think that there's going to be hope, right now, it's such a new situation that if you haven't already been talking to these brands, it's kind of like a little bit. I'm trying to think of a word that's not the word that I want to say because it's not a nice word. It's kind of like jerky, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like jerky the time right now to hit up a brand and say, well, I'm having an event. Can I have $5,000? When that brand is like, we can use this $5,000 to feed people. It's touchy because you want to still have a high amount of dignity, right? But you still need money for your event. So I think that the best way, if you haven't already built the relationships, is to start building them now. I think that down the line, sponsorship is an $82 billion a year business.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how much companies are pumping into other entities for sponsorship. So it's a really high amount to to take any kind of hit, which there are definitely hits. I know Verizon was pulling out of stuff. They pulled about $1 million out of different contracts.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So you definitely want to tread lightly. I think you want to build some relationships. And if you are already in a relationship, pivot. So one of the things that we've done is if the event has been postponed, we're still sending out the gift bags, right? So if your event now isn't until September and it was supposed to be in June, still send out those gift bags.
All right.
So people can post because not everybody is home.
Right.
That's why it's good now to connect with these marketers because everybody's home. They're at home doing the same thing we're doing. So I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, I keep telling people, try and connect with these people while they're home. And she was like, Enovia, I swear, people that take 3 months to get back to me have been texting me after I emailed them like, hey girl, I'm like, yes, because they home. See how you're doing as a person. So, build those relationships and then pivoting. So still send those gift bags out. If you can do a digital version of your gift bag, definitely send that out. Yeah. So we had to do a last minute right before they announced that they were going to start canceling events. I think our event was March. It was early. It was like March 7th or something. And we were like, emailed some gift cards. Hey, if you're out, still grab a cup of coffee on us so we can enjoy it together while we do our webinar. Sending people, if the speakers were local, I dropped off baskets at their house, still sending stuff. You can get authors to give you digital copies of books that you can send out. You can get, gift certificates that you can redeem in store later. So there's a lot of way to do like a digital gift bag. Also, if you want to get real funky fly, you can do an AR experience or a VR experience or have someone create, Zoom has these backgrounds now. You can have someone create a custom background so people can still take cute screenshots during your webinar. Yeah. So definitely still activate your event, not necessarily in an outside brand way, in your own, kind of brand way. So you can still have something to show. Like even in COVID, we was popping, we had our little, our little welcome to my brunch background, what have you. But now I wouldn't use the time to ask for money. I would use the time to connect. So you can
and build relationships.
Yeah. When you come out of this.
Nice. Well, this was very informative. So I guess let's do this. What are 3 tips you would leave with everyone from everything that you just unloaded on everybody, especially during this period?
Y'all got a lot. Start connecting on LinkedIn, making those introductions. Spend a lot of this time doing brand research and really getting to like the brands that you absolutely love and that you will want to work with time and time again. An exercise that I have my clients do is walk into your house from the front door and stop in every room and look and see. Go in your refrigerator, go in your cabinets, go in your bathroom, go through your bathroom cabinets, go in your closet. And that will give you about 200 brands that you can whip down.
Right? No, that's true.
People get stuck on that part. They're like, well, what brand? When I ask people all the time, what are your ideal brands to work with? I know my ideal brand. SodaStream. If y'all out there listening to me, I still haven't hit y'all up. I say this every year, but I want a SodaStream. I worked with Keurig already, so that I want one SodaStream. I want Porsche.
Yeah.
I want Porsche. So kind of give yourself those brands, that you want and work your way up to. So when I come in my house and I look in my refrigerator, right, I know that I'm going to have Bruce Cost soda. So that's a brand that I work with because I already love them.
Mm-hmm.
My kid drinks Capri Sun. Might reach out to them, if I'm having something. So you kind of look at your cleaning products. Are you using Clorox? Are you using Trader Joe's? Which never really sponsors anything. So you kind of just forget about them. But, your furniture. I got my stools, the white stools right there off for up. Offer Up is a big community that's about entrepreneurship because people can sell things from their houses. Does that, apply to you? Look through your phones. What kind of apps are you using? Think about on your way to work. Where do you go have lunch? So definitely doing those exercises to see what brands you really already love. It's a lot easier to work with brands that you love than brands that you just think have money that you want.
Exactly.
So while y'all at home, y'all do that exercise and get your list of 50 brands that you love and research them and make sure that, you apply on all levels. Your morals are the same. See if they've ever sponsored anything that's similar to yours, and then start connecting with people at those companies. And then make your decks nice, please, y'all. Don't let me shred them up. No.
That is always the most important. They still got to look at something nice. So yes.
Make them good. Put the good information.
Invest in it, right? Like invest in at least making it look nice.
You can go to Vettdeck.com. We can make it for you if you're like, if you're not into doing it. If you're not, you can always just lean on us. We do them really, really well, and a lot of them. But yeah, so those are my tops. Like, do your brand research, connect with people on LinkedIn, and get your decks done.
Yes. Thank you. Well, thank you so very, very much. Before we go, can you please just let everyone know where we can find you so we can tap into your brain for some more information?
Yes, I am at NoveyB, NoveyB. On Instagram, also Vettdeck, Vettdeck. Also on Twitter, NoveyB and Vettdeck. My site is www.vettdeck.com. I think that's all I got for y'all.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I think this was super informative, and I'm almost guaranteed that if you listen to her, you'll probably get a lot more money for your events. You
Thank
have
you
a wonderful day.
This was fun.
So much.